The deep space monitoring station floated silently in the darkness between stars. Captain Ji-won Kim walked through the quiet corridors, checking on the night shift crew. It was another ordinary day at Station Kepler 442, or so she thought. The communications room, Officer Minho Park sat before a wall of screens showing radio waves from across the galaxy. Most signals were just cosmic noise, the random buzzing of dying stars and spinning planets. He had been doing this job for 3 years, and nothing exciting ever happened. Then something changed. A new signal appeared on his screen, weak but steady. Minho frowned and leaned forward. The pattern looked familiar, but that was impossible. He called up the signal analysis program and waited for the computer to decode it. What he saw made his blood run cold. The screen showed 3 letters repeating over and over: SOS, SOS, SOS. Captain Kim, Minho called out, his voice shaking. You need to see this right now. Ji-won hurried over and looked at the screen. Her face went pale. That's an old Earth distress signal. Where's it coming from? Minho checked his instruments twice before answering. The Andromeda Transit Zone, Captain. About 40,000 light-years away. That's impossible, Ji-won said. No human ship has ever gone that far. Run a full diagnostic on your equipment. While Minho ran his tests, Ji-won contacted Admiral Hyuk Choi at Terra Command. The old admiral's face appeared on the screen, looking tired and annoyed at being woken up. This better be important, Captain, Admiral Choi said. Sir, we're receiving a human distress signal from the Andromeda Transit Zone. It's using old SOS protocols. The admiral's expression changed from annoyance to disbelief. Captain, that's 40,000 light-years away. We don't have any ships in that region. I know, sir, but the signal is definitely human origin. Send me everything you have. I'll get our experts to look at it. Ji-won transferred all the data to Terra Command and waited. An hour later, Dr. Nari Lee, the military's top expert on alien languages, called the station directly. Captain Kim, Dr. Lee said, I need you to keep monitoring that signal. Don't let anyone else know about it yet. What did you find, Doctor? The signal contains authentication codes, very old ones from a colony ship called the New Horizon. It disappeared 200 years ago during humanity's first attempt to reach Andromeda. Ji-won felt her heart racing. Doctor, are you saying that colony ship survived? Not just survived, Captain. According to this signal, they built an entire civilization out there, and now they're in terrible danger. Over the next few hours, more pieces of the message came through. The signal was weak and broken, arriving in fragments across different frequencies. Minho worked tirelessly to put the pieces together, while other technicians helped decode the older transmission protocols. What they found painted a horrifying picture. The colonists had indeed survived their journey to Andromeda. They had found suitable planets and built cities. Over 200 years, their population had grown to millions. They had established trade routes between different worlds and created a small but thriving human civilization. But now something was hunting them. The fragments spoke of an alien enemy unlike anything humanity had ever faced. The colonists called them the Devourers, a species that consumed entire civilizations, leaving nothing behind but empty worlds. They came from the dark spaces between galaxies, one message fragment said. They don't just kill, they eat everything, our people, our knowledge, our culture. They learn from what they consume and become stronger. Another fragment was even more disturbing. We've lost contact with New Beijing Colony and Haven Station. Long-range sensors show their planets are changed. The cities are gone. The oceans are black. Something is growing there now. As the hours passed, the signal became clearer. The colonists had been fighting the Devourers for months. Their small defense fleets were no match for the alien ships. They had retreated to their core worlds and were making a desperate last stand. We know this message might never reach Earth, came another transmission. But if anyone receives this, please know that we tried. We built something beautiful out here. We had children who grew up under alien suns. We had poets and teachers and farmers and engineers. We were human and we were happy. Minho wiped tears from his eyes as he decoded that message. Beside him, Ji-won clenched her fists. The final clear transmission contained tactical data about the Devourers. Their ships were biomechanical, able to repair damage and adapt to weapons. They traveled in massive swarms, overwhelming any defense. Most terrifying of all, they seemed to learn and evolve after each battle. They know our weaknesses now, the message said. They've studied our ships, our tactics, our weapons. Each time we fight them, they get better at killing us. Then came the coordinates, the exact location of the remaining human colonies. It was a desperate gamble. The colonists knew that revealing their position might help the Devourers find them, but they had no choice. Without help, they would all die anyway. Dr. Lee worked through the night analyzing the tactical data. What she found made her call Admiral Choi immediately. "Admiral," she said, "the Devourers aren't just attacking these colonists. According to the data, they've already consumed 14 other intelligent species. They're working their way through this entire region of Andromeda, consuming everything in their path." "What are their capabilities?" Admiral Choi asked. "They have technology that can disable faster-than-light drives, trapping their prey. Their ships regenerate damage. They seem to share information instantly across their entire species. And Admiral, they're learning about us." "What do you mean?" "Every time they fight the colonists, they learn more about human technology and tactics. If they finish consuming our people in Andromeda, they'll know everything about us. Our weapons, our ships, our weaknesses." Admiral Choi was quiet for a long moment. "Doctor, could they potentially reach Earth?" "Based on their technology, yes, sir. Eventually they could." Back at Station Kepler 442, Minho was still monitoring the signal when something changed. The steady stream of data suddenly became frantic, desperate. "They found us," came a panicked voice. "The Devourers found the transmission source. They're coming." "Oh God, they're coming fast." Jiwon grabbed the microphone. "This is Captain Jiwon Kim of the Earth Defense Force. Who is this? Please identify yourself." "This is Commander Taeyang Moon of New Seoul Colony." "Captain, you have to warn Earth. They know we called for help. The Devourers are learning to trace our signals. They know about Earth now." The signal started breaking up, filled with static and strange noises. "Commander Moon, we're going to help you. Earth is mobilizing a rescue fleet." "Captain, there's something else. The Devourers. They're not just random destroyers, they're preparing for something bigger. We found ruins of ancient civilizations, species that were consumed millions of years ago. There are messages, warnings. Captain, I think the Devourers are just the beginning." The strange noises got louder. Through the static, they could hear explosions and screaming. "They're in the city now." Commander Moon's voice cracked. "Captain, tell Earth. Tell them that we were proud to be human. Tell them we never gave up hope." The signal cut to pure static. Minho stared at his instruments, hoping the signal would return, but the screen showed only empty noise. After 200 years of silence, humanity's lost children had called out for help, and now they were silent again. Jiwon stood in the quiet communications room, looking at the star charts showing the impossible distance to Andromeda. 40,000 light-years away, millions of humans were fighting for their lives against an enemy that consumed civilizations. She picked up the secure communication device and called Admiral Choi. "Admiral," she said, "I recommend we begin immediate preparations for a long-range military operation. Our people need us." Admiral Choi's voice was grim but determined. "Agreed, Captain. I'm calling an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. Humanity doesn't abandon its own." As Jiwon ended the call, she looked out at the stars and whispered a promise to the silent void. "Hold on. Help is coming." The emergency council meeting began at sunrise in the underground war rooms beneath Geneva. Fleet Admiral Dongwoo Han stood before a massive holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked the Devourer attacks, while blue dots showed the remaining human colonies in Andromeda. "Gentlemen, ladies," Admiral Han began, "3 days ago we thought humanity was alone in Andromeda. Today we know that millions of our people have been living there for 2 centuries, and they're about to be wiped out." General Mireille Torres, head of the Marine Corps, leaned forward. "Admiral, how is it possible that an entire civilization survived? out there without any contact with Earth? Intelligence Officer So-Young Kang activated her presentation. According to the decoded transmissions, the colony ship New Horizon didn't just survive their journey. They found a region of space with dozens of habitable planets. Over 200 years, they spread across 17 worlds. The hologram showed the human settlements, cities with millions of people, orbital stations, mining facilities, and defensive outposts. It was a thriving civilization. They called their capital world New Seoul, So-Young continued, population 4 million. They have universities, art galleries, farms, factories. These aren't just survivors, they're a complete human society. Dr. Jinwoo Park, the military's chief scientist, studied the tactical data. The technology they've developed is impressive. They've been isolated from Earth for 2 centuries, but they've made significant advances in several fields. That won't help them against the Devourers, said Admiral Han grimly. So-Young brought up the next part of her briefing. The Devourers are unlike any enemy we've studied. They're a collective consciousness, billions of creatures sharing a single mind. They don't communicate with their prey, they don't negotiate. They simply consume. The hologram showed Devourer ships, organic-looking vessels that seemed to pulse with their own life. They moved in perfect coordination, like parts of a single organism. Their ships are grown, not built, Dr. Park explained. Biomechanical technology that can repair itself and adapt to enemy weapons. They attack in swarms of thousands, overwhelming any defense through sheer numbers. Chief of Naval Operations Won-Ho Lim stood up. What's their military strength? Based on the colonial data, each Devourer fleet contains approximately 10,000 ships. They've deployed at least 6 fleets. In Andromeda, possibly more. 60,000 enemy ships, Admiral Han calculated. Against how many colonial defenders? The colonists have maybe 300 military vessels total. Most are converted civilian ships with basic weapons. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the numbers. The colonists were outnumbered 200 to 1. There's more, So-Young said quietly. The Devourers don't just destroy civilizations. They absorb their knowledge. Every species they consume makes them smarter and more dangerous. She showed intercepted Devourer communications, strange harmonics that somehow conveyed complex information, instantly across vast distances. They've consumed 14 intelligent species before attacking our colonies. Each time they learned new technologies and tactics. They started this campaign using simple bioships. Now they have energy shields, faster engines, and weapons specifically designed to counter human defensive systems. Dr. Park pulled up more data. The most disturbing discovery is their learning rate. After their first battle with colonial forces, they adapted their ships to resist human plasma cannons. After the second battle, they developed jamming technology that disabled colonial sensors. By the third battle, they were using modified human tactics against us. They're learning to think like humans, Admiral Han said. Worse than that, So-Young replied. They're learning to think better than humans. The collective consciousness means they never forget anything and they share all knowledge instantly. The Admiral turned to the strategic planning team. What are our options for a rescue mission? Fleet Captain Yoonji Choi, head of logistics, shook her head. Sir, the distance makes it impossible with current technology. 40,000 light years would take our fastest ships over 50,000 years to travel. What about the new quantum tunnel drive? Asked Dr. Park. Captain Choi checked her data. The experimental drive can theoretically create wormholes across galactic distances, but it's never been tested on this scale. And it would require enormous amounts of energy. How much energy? Admiral Han asked. To transport a single ship. We'd need to drain the power output of an entire solar system. The room erupted in discussions about the technical challenges. Engineer Hanil Shin, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. Admiral, there might be a way. If we link multiple quantum tunnel drives together, we could share the energy load across several systems. It's never been attempted, but the theory is sound. How many ships could we send? If we drain power from 3 of our most energy-rich systems, maybe 400 vessels, but there's a problem. What problem? The tunnel drive can only work once per ship. The energy requirements burn out the drive completely. Any fleet we send would be stranded in Andromeda with no way home. Admiral Han looked around the room at his senior officers. So we're talking about a one-way mission. Whoever goes to rescue the colonists stays there permanently. Yes, sir. And if the mission fails, we lose both the colonists and the rescue fleet. The Admiral walked to the holographic display and studied the colonial positions. How long do the colonists have? Soyoung consulted the latest intelligence estimates. Based on devourer attack patterns, maybe 6 months. They're methodically consuming the outer colonies and working their way toward the core worlds. And if the devourers finish consuming our people, Dr. Park answered grimly, they'll have complete knowledge of human technology, tactics, and weaknesses. Plus, according to the colonial data, they've learned to build faster-than-light communication devices from a species they consumed centuries ago. Meaning they could call for reinforcements from across the universe. We're not just fighting one group of devourers. We could be facing their entire species. The implications hit everyone at once. The devourers weren't just threatening the colonial settlements. They were potentially threatening all of humanity. General Torres spoke first. Admiral, we have to try the rescue mission. We can't abandon our people. Even if it means sending our best ships and crews on a suicide mission? Sir, if we don't stop the devourers in Andromeda, they'll eventually come here. Better to fight them there than wait for them to attack Earth. Admiral Han nodded slowly. Dr. Park, how quickly can we prepare the quantum tunnel drive system? If we work around the clock and use every available resource? 3 weeks, maybe 4. And the fleet? Captain Choi calculated rapidly. We can have 400 of our best ships ready in the same time frame. But Admiral, we're talking about sending most of our military strength on a mission with no guarantee of success. What's the alternative? Wait for the devourers to finish learning everything they can about humans and then come looking for Earth? The room was quiet as everyone considered the choice. Send their strongest fleet on a desperate rescue mission, or wait and hope the devourers never found their way to Earth. Finally, Admiral Han made his decision. I'm authorizing Operation Distant Thunder. We're going to Andromeda. We're going to rescue our people, and we're going to stop the devourers. He turned to address the entire council. I won't lie to you. This is the most dangerous mission humanity has ever attempted. We're sending our best people 40,000 light years away to fight an enemy that has destroyed 14 civilizations. Most of you won't live to see Earth again. He paused, looking each officer in the eye. But our people in Andromeda didn't give up when their situation seemed hopeless. They kept fighting, kept hoping that somehow help would come. They called out across impossible distances because they believed in us. Now it's our turn to believe in ourselves. The Admiral activated the General Alert System. Across human space, military bases received the same message. All personnel report for immediate deployment. Priority Alpha mobilization authorized. Destination, Andromeda Galaxy. As the officers filed out to begin preparations, Admiral Han remained behind, staring at the holographic display. 40,000 light-years away, the devourers were getting closer to the remaining human colonies with each passing day. Hold on, he whispered to the distant stars. The cavalry is coming. Across human space, the greatest military mobilization in history began. At the Mars naval shipyards, Captain Taehyun Yu watched as his dreadnought Soul's Fury underwent rapid modifications. The massive ship was already one of humanity's most powerful vessels, but the engineers were making it even deadlier. Captain, called Chief Engineer Bora Min, we've installed the new quantum tunneling drive, but I have to warn you, once we use it, there's no coming home. Taehyun nodded grimly. He had volunteered for this mission knowing it was one way. How are the weapon upgrades coming? We've doubled your plasma cannon output and installed the new adaptive targeting systems. But Captain, based on the colonial data about devourer ships, I'm not sure our weapons will be enough. At the Luna Defense Academy, Commander Gina Oh briefed her elite pilots. Ghost Squadron was humanity's finest, 12 pilots who had never lost a battle. Now, they were preparing for a war unlike anything they had ever faced. Listen up. Gina announced to her squadron. The enemy ships adapt to our tactics. That means everything you know about space combat might be useless after the first engagement. Lieutenant Yuna Song raised her hand. Commander, how do we fight? An enemy that learns from our attacks? We get creative. We use tactics they've never seen before, and we hit them so hard and so fast that they don't get a chance to adapt. The pilots studied footage from the colonial battles. Devourer ships moved unlike anything human pilots had encountered. They flowed like liquid, reformed when damaged, and coordinated with perfect precision. They fight like a single organism, observed Lieutenant Kangmin Ryu. No individual ship tactics, just pure collective action. Which gives us an advantage, Gina replied. Human pilots think independently. We can be unpredictable in ways their collective mind can't understand. Meanwhile, at the Titan research facility, Dr. Kyung Nam worked frantically to develop new weapons. The standard human arsenal, plasma cannons, missile systems, energy beams, had proven only marginally effective against Devourer bioships. We need something they've never encountered before, Dr. Nam told his research team. Something they can't adapt to because they have no reference point. His breakthrough came from studying the colonial tactical data more carefully. The Devourers absorbed knowledge from every species they consumed, but there was a pattern. They always learned defensive counters to weapons they had faced. What if we create weapons that work in reverse, Dr. Nam suggested. Instead of trying to destroy their ships, what if we disrupt their ability to function as a collective? His team developed quantum disruptor warheads, weapons designed to interfere with the bioelectrical connections between Devourer ships. If they worked, entire enemy fleets might lose coordination. At the Quantum Engineering Corps, Engineer Hanul Shin faced the most challenging task of all, linking 17 separate quantum tunnel drives to transport 400 ships across 40,000 light-years. The power requirements are insane, Hanul told his assistant engineer Minji Park. We're going to drain 3 entire solar systems to create this tunnel. What about the civilian populations on those worlds? They're being evacuated to backup power grids. Everyone knows what's at stake. The engineering challenge was unprecedented. Each quantum drive had to be perfectly synchronized with all the others. A single miscalculation could tear the fleet apart, or strand them in the void between galaxies. We're essentially creating an artificial wormhole large enough for 400 warships, Hanul explained to Admiral Han during a progress briefing. The energy release will be visible from several star systems. Across the fleet, soldiers and sailors prepared for the mission. Lieutenant Chaewon Ko, a Marine aboard the assault ship Busan's Pride, wrote letters to her family that would only be delivered if the mission failed. Dear Mom and Dad, she wrote, by the time you read this, I'll be in another galaxy fighting to save people I've never met. I know you don't understand why I volunteered for a one-way mission, but I hope someday you'll be proud of what we tried to do. Similar letters were being written throughout the fleet. 400,000 personnel, the finest soldiers, sailors, pilots, and support staff humanity had ever assembled, were saying goodbye to everyone they loved. Commander Yejun Nam, captain of the heavy cruiser Incheon Thunder, addressed his crew over the ship's communication system. I know what you're all thinking, he said. We're flying into the unknown to fight an enemy that has destroyed 14 civilizations. The odds are against us and we can't come home. But remember why we're doing this. He paused, looking out at the stars through the bridge viewport. 40,000 light-years away, our people are making their last stand. They're human beings just like us, people with families, dreams, and hopes for the future. They've been fighting impossible odds for months, believing that somehow help would come. We are that help. At the medical facilities, Dr. Sumin Kang prepared field hospitals for the wounded. The colonial data suggested Devourer weapons caused unusual injuries, wounds that seemed to resist normal healing. We don't know what we're going to face out there, she told her medical team. But we're going to save every person we can. The final preparations involved loading supplies for an indefinite stay in Andromeda. The fleet carried everything needed to establish a permanent human presence. Weapons factories, food production facilities, mining equipment, and even genetic samples to ensure humanity could continue if Earth was ever threatened. Captain Seojin, you commanding the supply vessel New Horizons Legacy, oversaw the loading of the most precious cargo, embryos and genetic material from Earth's entire ecosystem. If we're going to be stranded in Andromeda, he told his quartermaster, we're going to make it home. 3 weeks after the mobilization began, the fleet assembled at the rally point, an empty region of space between Earth and Mars. 400 ships of various classes formed a massive formation unlike anything ever seen. At the center were 12 Titan-class dreadnoughts, humanity's most powerful warships. Surrounding them were heavy cruisers, destroyers, assault ships, and support vessels. Each ship carried experimental weapons and equipment that had never been tested in real combat. Admiral Han stood on the bridge of his flagship, Terra's Vengeance, and looked at the greatest war fleet in human history. Tomorrow, they would attempt something that most scientists said was impossible. All ships, this is Admiral Han, he announced over the fleet communication system. In 12 hours, we begin the longest journey humanity has ever attempted. We're going to cross the void between galaxies to save our people and stop an enemy that threatens everything we hold dear. Throughout the fleet, crews made final preparations. Weapon systems were checked and rechecked. Life support systems were optimized for the long journey. Quantum tunnel drives were brought online and synchronized. I want everyone to understand what we're attempting, Admiral Han continued. We're going to travel 40,000 light years in a matter of days. We're going to fight an enemy that has never been defeated. And we're going to do it with no possibility of retreat or reinforcement. He paused, looking at the communication, displays showing faces from across the fleet, young sailors, veteran officers, elite pilots, and dedicated support personnel. Some people might call this mission impossible. They might say we're throwing away our lives on a hopeless cause, but they don't understand what it means to be human. When someone calls for help, we answer. When someone needs defending, we defend them. When the odds are impossible, we find a way to beat them anyway. As the final countdown began, Engineer Hanol Shin made last-minute adjustments to the quantum tunnel drives. The power drain from 3 solar systems was already beginning. Entire worlds going dark as their energy was redirected to the fleet. All drives synchronized and ready, Hanol reported to Admiral Han. Tunnel formation will begin in 60 seconds. The Admiral took a deep breath and gave the order that would change human history. All ships, prepare for quantum tunnel jump. Destination Andromeda Galaxy. Mission save our people and stop the devourers. As the countdown reached 0, space itself began to bend around the massive fleet. Reality twisted and folded as 17 quantum drives created a tunnel through the fabric of the universe. The last transmission from Earth reached the fleet just as they entered the tunnel. Good luck, and remember, humanity is counting on you. Then the stars changed, and 400 human warships began the impossible journey to another galaxy. The journey through the quantum tunnel felt like falling through a nightmare. For 14 days, the human fleet traveled through twisted space where the normal rules of physics didn't apply. Stars appeared as streaks of impossible colors, and time seemed to move in strange patterns. Navigation Officer Sunwoo Jang monitored the tunnel's stability from the bridge of Terra's Vengeance. Admiral, he reported to Admiral Han, the tunnel is holding, but the energy drain is worse than predicted. The quantum drives are burning out faster than expected. How much faster? Admiral Han asked. At this rate, we'll lose tunnel capability. Completely when we reach Andromeda, there won't be any power left for a return trip. Admiral Han nodded grimly. They had known the mission was one way, but now it was confirmed. All ships, prepare for emergency exit. We're coming out of the tunnel whether the drives work or not. On the 14th day, reality snapped back into focus. The fleet emerged from the quantum tunnel into normal space, but they were no longer in the Milky Way. Strange constellations filled the sky, the stars of Andromeda Galaxy. Navigation confirms our position, reported Sunwoo. We're in the target system, approximately 1 light year from the colonial settlements, but their arrival hadn't gone unnoticed. Long-range sensors immediately detected massive energy readings throughout the system. Admiral, called Sensor Officer Jisoo Han, I'm reading multiple fleets in the system. Colonial vessels are under Attack near the fourth planet. The main screen showed a horrifying sight. Hundreds of organic-looking ships swarmed around 3 human vessels. The Devourer fleet moved like a living thing, coordinating perfectly as they overwhelmed the human defenders. "Get me a communication channel to the colonial ships," Admiral Han ordered. The response came immediately. A desperate voice filled with static and explosion sounds. "This is Admiral Jongan Ryu of the Colonial Defense Force. Who is this? How did you get here?" "Admiral Ryu, this is Admiral Dongwu Han of the Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress call. We're here to help." There was a moment of stunned silence. Then Admiral Ryu's voice cracked with emotion. "Earth sent a fleet? How many ships?" 400 vessels, Admiral. We're moving to assist your position now." 400. Admiral Ryu's voice was barely a whisper. "Admiral Han, we've been fighting for our lives for 3 months. We never dared hope that Earth would come." Pilot Yuna. Bay launched from the carrier New Soul's Hope for the first reconnaissance mission into Devourer territory. Her fighter wing approached the battle carefully, studying the enemy ships up close for the first time. What they saw defied easy description. The Devourer vessels looked grown rather than built, organic curves and surfaces that pulsed with their own inner light. They moved with fluid grace, reforming their shapes as they fought. "Command, this is Ghost Leader," Yuna reported. "Enemy ships are unlike anything in our databases. They appear to be partially biological, and they're learning." As she watched, a group of Devourer ships adapted their formation to counter a colonial attack pattern they had seen only minutes before. "They're not just coordinating," Yuna continued. "They're evolving their tactics in real time." The first full engagement began when Captain Taehyun Yu brought Soul's Fury into weapons range of a Devourer heavy cruiser. The human dreadnoughts, massive plasma cannons fired, scoring direct hits on the alien vessel. The results were both encouraging and terrifying. The plasma blasts tore through the Devourer ship's hull, causing significant damage. But within minutes, the organic vessel began to repair itself, growing new armor plating that seemed designed specifically to resist plasma weapons. "All ships, this is Soul's Fury," Captain Yu reported. "Enemy vessels can adapt their defenses to our weapons. Recommend rotating weapon types to prevent adaptation." The battle raged for hours as the combined human fleet engaged the Devourer forces. What became clear was that while individual human ships were more powerful, the Devourers had overwhelming numbers and perfect coordination. Commander Gina Oh led Ghost Squadron in a desperate attack on a cluster of Devourer fighters. The enemy pilots flew with mechanical precision, but they seemed confused by human unpredictability. "They can't handle random tactics," Gina reported. "Stay unpredictable, people. Use your instincts, not your training." As the battle continued, Admiral Ryu's damaged flagship limped toward the Earth fleet. When he finally boarded Terra's Vengeance, the meeting between the two admirals was emotional. "Admiral Han," Ryu said, "you have no idea what your arrival means to us. We've been alone out here for so long, fighting an enemy we couldn't possibly defeat." Admiral Han studied the tactical displays showing the ongoing battle. "Admiral, give me a full briefing on what we're facing." Ryu activated a holographic display showing the broader strategic situation. "The Devourers arrived 8 months ago. They've already consumed 6 of our outer colonies, complete worlds with millions of people. They don't leave survivors." The U display showed the affected planets. Once green and blue worlds now appeared as black, lifeless spheres with strange growths covering their surfaces. "What happens to consumed worlds?" Admiral Han asked. "We don't know exactly, but long-range scans suggest the Devourers transform entire planets into something else. Breeding grounds, maybe, or construction facilities for their ships." Dr. Minju Wu, the fleet's xenobiologist, studied the sensor data from the consumed worlds. "Admiral, these readings are consistent with complete biological transformation. The Devourers don't just kill ecosystems, they replace them with their own biology." The implications were staggering. The Devourers weren't just destroying human colonies, they were converting entire worlds into extensions of their collective organism. There's something else, Admiral Ryu continued. We've been monitoring their communications and we've detected signals being sent outside this galaxy. Outside the galaxy? Admiral Han asked. Long-range communications using technology they absorbed from a species they consumed centuries ago. We think they're calling for reinforcements from other Devourer fleets across the universe. Dr. Wu's analysis confirmed their worst fears. Based on the signal patterns, they're not just a local threat. The Devourers appear to be a galaxy-spanning species with fleets throughout the universe. As if responding to their discussion, new contacts appeared on long-range sensors. Another Devourer fleet was approaching from the edge of the system, this one twice the size of the force they were already fighting. Admiral, reported Sensor Officer Jisu. Massive fleet approaching. Estimated strength, 20,000 vessels. The human officers looked at the numbers in horror. They were already outnumbered by the current enemy force. A second fleet would make victory impossible. How long until they arrive? Admiral Han asked. 18 hours, sir. Admiral Han turned to his senior officers. Recommendations? Captain Yu spoke first. Sir, we need to defeat the current enemy force before reinforcements arrive. If we're facing 40,000 Devourer ships simultaneously, we'll be annihilated, Admiral Ryu finished. Commander Gina O had been studying the tactical displays. Admiral, there might be another option. The colonial data suggests all Devourer ships are connected through some kind of biological network. What if we could disrupt that connection? Dr. Wu brought up her research on Devourer biology. The quantum disruptor warheads we brought might work, but we'd need to get them close to their command ships, the larger vessels that seem to coordinate the smaller ones. It would be a suicide mission, Captain Yu observed. Any ship that gets close enough to deploy the disruptors would be destroyed by concentrated enemy fire. Admiral Han looked at the tactical situation. Thousands of enemy ships more arriving soon, and a desperate plan that might save the colonies, or might destroy the rescue fleet. Admiral Ryu, he said, are there any other colonial settlements we need to evacuate? 3 more worlds with about 2 million civilians total. But Admiral, we don't have enough transport ships to evacuate everyone, and the Devourers are already moving toward those systems. Admiral Han made his decision. We're going to split our forces. Half the fleet will escort evacuation ships to the remaining colonies. The other half will attempt to disrupt the Devourer command network before their reinforcements arrive. And, if the plan fails? Admiral Ryu asked. Admiral Han looked at the holographic display showing the approaching enemy reinforcements. Then we make our last stand here, and hope someone else figures out how to stop them before they reach Earth. As the human fleet prepared for the most desperate battle in their history, a new transmission came from the edge of the system. It wasn't from the approaching Devourer fleet. It was from something else entirely. Human vessels. The transmission said in perfect English, "You are in great danger. The Devourers are not your primary enemy. They serve something far worse. We must speak." The transmission ended, leaving the human commanders staring at their communication equipment in shock. "Admiral," Sensor Officer Jisu reported, "the transmission came from a ship design I've never seen before. It's not Devourer technology, and it's definitely not human." Admiral Han realized their situation had just become even more complicated. They were about to fight for their lives against an enemy that had destroyed 14 civilizations. And now something else wanted to. The mysterious alien ship appeared on the edge of the battle zone, just as the human fleet prepared for their desperate assault. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, sleek and crystalline, with surfaces that seemed to bend light around them. "Human commander," the voice transmitted again. "I am Captain Vex of the Kythera Remnant. Your species is making a terrible mistake." Admiral Han opened the communication channel. "This is Admiral Han of the Earth Defense Fleet. What do you mean, mistake? You believe the Devourers are your primary enemy. They are not. They are servants of something infinitely worse. The machine intelligence that has been consuming organic life throughout the universe for millions of years." Dr. Minju Wu quickly analyzed the alien ship's design. "Admiral, their technology is incredibly advanced, centuries beyond ours. but the ship shows signs of recent battle damage. Captain Vex continued his transmission. My people were one of the 14 species consumed by the Devourers in this region. I am all that remains of the Cathara civilization. The Devourers learned of your existence when they absorbed our knowledge of galactic navigation routes. The implications hit Admiral Han immediately. You're saying the Devourers can find Earth because they consumed your people? Worse than that. The machine intelligence behind them has been systematically mapping and destroying all organic civilizations. Earth is already marked for consumption. On the tactical display, the approaching Devourer reinforcements grew closer. Admiral Ryu studied the enemy formation. Admiral Han, we have maybe 12 hours before those reinforcements arrive. If we're going to act, it has to be now. Commander Gina. O brought Ghost Squadron into formation around Terra's vengeance. Admiral, with respect to our new alien friend, we still have immediate problems. 20,000 Devourer ships are about to overwhelm the remaining colonies. Captain, Vex transmitted new data to the human fleet. I can help you defeat this Devourer force, but you must understand, victory here is only the beginning. The machine intelligence has fleets throughout the universe, and now it knows about humanity. The alien data showed the true scope of the threat. The machine intelligence wasn't just one enemy. It was a network of artificial minds that had been consuming galaxies for millions of years. The Devourers were just its biological agents. Dr. Wu studied the new information with growing horror. Admiral, according to this data, the machine intelligence has consumed thousands of galaxies. Entire regions of the universe are now empty, converted into processing centers and manufacturing facilities. What does it want? Admiral Han asked. Captain Vex's response chilled everyone on the bridge. Complete conversion of all organic matter into its own network. It views biological life as inefficient and chaotic. Its goal is to create a perfectly ordered universe under its control. The battle for the colonial settlements intensified as more Devourer ships joined the attack. Captain Taehyun Yu's Soul's Fury led a desperate charge to break through enemy lines and reach the evacuation ships. All ships, concentrate fire on the large biocruiser, Captain Yu ordered. If we can, take out their command ship. The smaller vessels might lose coordination. The combined human fleet focused their attack on a massive Devourer vessel that seemed to be directing the enemy swarm. Plasma cannons, missile barrages, and experimental energy weapons hammered the organic ship. But even as they damaged the command vessel, it began to adapt. Its hull shifted and changed, developing new armor configurations that reduced the effectiveness of human weapons. It's learning from our attack patterns, reported Lieutenant Commander Hajun Lee from the cruiser Daegu's hammer. Each shot we fire is less effective than the last. That's when Captain Vex proved his worth. The Cathara ship engaged the Devourers with weapons that seemed to ignore their adaptive defenses entirely. Human fleet, Vex transmitted. Devourer ships can adapt to energy-based attacks, but they struggle with quantum disruption fields. Target their bioelectrical networks, not their hulls. Following the aliens' advice, Dr. Kyung Nam activated the experimental quantum disruptor warheads. The weapons created cascading failures in the Devourer ship's nervous systems, causing entire formations to lose coordination. It's working, reported Commander Gina Oh as she led Ghost Squadron through the confused enemy ranks. Their ships are fighting independently instead of as a collective. But victory came at a terrible price. The quantum disruptors required close-range deployment, and many human ships were lost getting into position. The destroyer Gwangju's Pride sacrificed itself to take out an entire Devourer formation. The assault ship Ulsan's Courage rammed a E-8E biocruiser after its weapons were disabled. Captain Seojun Yu, commanding the supply vessel New Horizons Legacy, made the ultimate sacrifice. When Devourer boarding parties overran his ship, he triggered the quantum drive overload, creating an explosion that destroyed dozens of enemy vessels. Captain Yu's ship is gone, reported Admiral Ryu, his voice heavy with grief. But his sacrifice cleared the way for the evacuation ships to escape. As the battle raged, the human fleet's true strength became apparent. Not just their weapons or ships, but their willingness to sacrifice everything for others. Time and again, human captains put their ships between enemy formations and fleeing civilians. Lieutenant Chaewon Ko led a Marine boarding party onto a damaged colonial station to rescue trapped civilians. Even as Devourer bio-soldiers hunted them through the corridors, her team fought room by room to save every person they could find. "This is Marine Team Alpha," Chaewon reported over the communication system. "We've got 40 civilians secured, but the station is about to lose life support. Request immediate pickup." Commander Yejun Nam brought his heavy cruiser Incheon Thunder alongside the station, using his ship's hull to shield the evacuation shuttles from enemy fire. The turning point came when Dr. Minju Wu made a crucial discovery about Devourer biology. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the quantum disruptor effects. The Devourers aren't just connected to each other, they're connected to something else. A larger intelligence directing them remotely." "The machine intelligence?" Admiral Han asked. "I think so, and if we can trace that connection," Captain Vex confirmed her theory. "The doctor is correct. All Devourer forces receive commands through quantum entanglement links to machine intelligence nodes. If you could disrupt those links, the entire Devourer fleet would lose coordination," Dr. Wu finished. But implementing this plan required getting close to the Devourer command ship, a massive bio-vessel surrounded by thousands of smaller craft. It was a suicide mission. Captain Taehyun Yu volunteered immediately. "Seoul's Fury can punch through their lines. My ship has the heaviest armor and the most powerful weapons." "Captain," Admiral Han said, "you understand this is a one-way mission." "I understand, sir. But if we don't stop them here, they'll consume the remaining colonies and then move on to Earth." Other captains volunteered to join the assault. Soon, 12 ships had stepped forward to escort Seoul's Fury on the final attack. "No," Admiral Han said. "If this fails, we need ships left to continue the evacuation. Captain Yu takes Seoul's Fury alone." As the massive dreadnought began its final charge, Captain Vex made an unexpected decision. "Human Admiral, I will escort your ship. My people owe a debt to the galaxy for failing to stop the Devourers when they first appeared, though." 2 ships, 1 human, 1 alien, charged through the enemy formation toward the Devourer command vessel. Behind them, the rest of the human fleet provided covering fire and continued evacuating civilians from the threatened colonies. "Captain Yu," transmitted Admiral Han, "you're our best hope. Don't let us down." "Sir," came the reply. "Humanity never gives up. We'll find a way." Seoul's Fury and the Kythera ship crashed through the Devourer defensive lines, their weapons blazing. The massive bio-command ship loomed ahead, its organic curves pulsing with malevolent intelligence. As they approached, the true scale of their enemy became clear. The command ship wasn't just large, it was intelligent in its own right, a living extension of the machine intelligence's will. "Captain Vex," Captain Yu transmitted, "it's been an honor fighting beside you. The honor is mine, human. Your species reminds me of what my people once were, brave, determined, and willing to sacrifice everything for others." The 2 ships dove toward the command vessel as thousands of Devourer fighters swarmed around them. The final battle for Andromeda was about to begin, but even as they fought for the colonies, long-range sensors detected something terrifying. The approaching Devourer reinforcements weren't just another fleet. They were accompanied by something else. Something vast and metallic that radiated the cold intelligence of the machine. The real war was just beginning. Captain Taehyun Yu and Captain Vex dove through the swarm of Devourer fighters like falling stars. Seoul's Fury's armor blazed as enemy bioweapons struck its hull, while the crystalline Kythera ship twisted and weaved with impossible grace. "Target, the neural cluster at the base of the command ship," Vex transmitted. "That's where the quantum entanglement link to the machine intelligence will be strongest." You could see it now, a pulsing mass of bioelectrical tissue that seemed to glow with its own inner light. But reaching it meant flying directly into the command ship's main defensive array. "All power to forward shields," Yu ordered his crew. "This is going to hurt." Seoul's Fury's massive plasma cannons opened fire, carving through the command ship's organic armor. The Cathera vessel added its quantum disruptors, causing sections of the bioship to convulse and writhe in apparent pain, but the command ship fought back with weapons beyond human understanding. Bioelectrical tendrils reached out, trying to wrap around the attacking vessels. Streams of corrosive biomatter sprayed across Sol's Fury's hull. Hull breach on decks 7 through 12, reported Chief Engineer Boramin. Life support is failing in the forward sections. Keep us flying, Yu ordered. We're almost there. Behind them, the main battle continued as Admiral Han coordinated the evacuation of the remaining colonies. Transport ships filled with civilians fled toward the edge of the system while the human fleet provided covering fire. Admiral, reported Sensor Officer Jisoo, the evacuation ships are clear, but that reinforcement fleet is getting closer. Estimated arrival time, 6 hours. Admiral Han watched the tactical display showing the approaching enemy forces. 20,000 Devourer ships accompanied by something much worse. A machine intelligence construct the size of a small moon. All ships, he transmitted, prepare for final defensive positions. If Captain Yu fails, we make our last stand here. At the command ship, Captain Yu's desperate assault was succeeding. Sol's Fury's weapons had torn through the outer defenses and were now targeting the neural cluster directly. Captain Vex, you transmitted. I'm going to overload my quantum drive. The explosion should disrupt their entire network. Wait, Vex replied. There's another way. If we coordinate our quantum disruptors precisely, we can create a cascade failure that will spread through their entire communication network without destroying your ship. It was a complex maneuver that required perfect timing. Both ships had to fire their quantum disruptors at exactly the same moment, creating overlapping fields that would amplify each other. On my mark, Vex transmitted. 3, 2, 1, fire. The combined quantum fields struck the neural cluster simultaneously. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the entire command ship convulsed as bioelectrical feedback cascaded through its systems. Across the battle zone, every Devourer ship suddenly stopped moving. The organic vessels drifted helplessly as their connection to the machine intelligence was severed. It worked, reported Commander Gina O from Ghost Squadron. All enemy ships have lost coordination. They're just floating dead in space. But the victory celebration was short-lived. Long-range sensors detected the arrival of the machine intelligence construct, a massive metallic sphere bristling with weapons that defied human understanding. Admiral, Dr. Minju Wu reported from her analysis station. That construct is transmitting on multiple quantum frequencies. It's trying to re-establish control over the Devourer fleet. Admiral Han realized they had won the battle but not the war. How long before it restores their connection? Maybe an hour, sir. But Admiral, that construct is heading directly for Earth's coordinates. It knows where our home is. The implications hit everyone at once. Even if they stopped this threat, the machine intelligence knew about Earth. More constructs would come, more Devourer fleets would follow. Captain Vex transmitted from his damaged ship. Admiral Han, there is something you must know. My people discovered that the machine intelligence has a weakness. It cannot create, only consume and convert. It relies on absorbed organic knowledge for innovation. What does that mean for us? It means that every time an organic species resists successfully, the machine intelligence becomes less effective. Your victory here has already weakened it. Dr. Wu was studying the construct's approach. Admiral, if Captain Vex is right, then our resistance here matters beyond just saving the colonies. We're weakening the enemy's ability to threaten other species. Admiral Han made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. Instead of trying to flee or hide, he ordered the entire fleet to engage the machine intelligence construct directly. All ships, he transmitted. We're going to attack that construct, not because we can defeat it, but because we're going to show it that organic life doesn't surrender. The battle that followed was unlike anything in human history. 400 human ships supported by Captain Vex's lone vessel and the surviving colonial fleet attacked an enemy construct the size of a small moon. The machine intelligence fought with cold efficiency, its weapons precisely calibrated to exploit human tactical weaknesses. But the human fleet fought with something the machine couldn't understand: hope and determination in the face of certain death. Captain Ha-Jun Lee's cruiser, Daigu's hammer, sacrificed itself to destroy one of the construct's weapon arrays. Lieutenant Commander Yuna Bei led a squadron of fighters directly into the construct's defensive grid, buying time for the larger ships to approach. The turning point came when engineer Hanul Shin made a desperate proposal. "Admiral, what if we reverse the quantum tunnel drives? Instead of creating a passage through space, we create a gravitational anomaly." "You mean turn them into a black hole?" Admiral Han asked. "Not exactly. More like a spatial fold that would trap the construct in a pocket dimension. It wouldn't destroy it, but it would prevent it from reaching Earth. It was a plan that required perfect timing and would destroy most of the human fleet in the process. But it was their only chance to protect Earth." "Do it," Admiral Han ordered. Across the fleet, quantum drives were reprogrammed for their final use. Ships positioned themselves around the machine intelligence construct in a precise pattern, each one preparing to sacrifice itself for the chance to save Earth. "All ships," Admiral Han transmitted, "it's been an honor serving with you. Tell the universe that when humanity's children called for help, we answered." The quantum drives activated simultaneously, creating a fold in space-time that pulled the machine intelligence construct into a pocket dimension. The spatial distortion consumed dozens of human ships, but it worked. The construct vanished from normal space. In the aftermath, the surviving human fleet found themselves in a changed galaxy. The Devourer ships remained inactive, their connection to the machine intelligence severed. The colonial worlds were safe, but they were also stranded 40,000 light-years from Earth with no way home. Admiral Ryu, now the senior colonial commander, addressed the combined human forces. "We've saved our civilization, but we're cut off from Earth forever. We need to decide what comes next." The answer came from an unexpected source. Across the Andromeda region, alien species that had been hiding from the Devourers began emerging. Species that had survived the machine intelligence's previous attacks. Captain Vex served as translator as representatives from dozen different civilizations approached the human fleet. "They want to form an alliance," he explained. "Your victory here has inspired hope throughout this region of space." Dr. Aaron Seo, the fleet's xenobiologist, made the most important discovery of all. "Admiral, the spatial fold we created didn't just trap the machine intelligence construct. It created a barrier between Andromeda and the Milky Way. Earth is protected. But with that protection came permanent separation. The human fleet and colonies in Andromeda would never see Earth again." Governor Silgi Cho, elected leader of the Combined Human Settlements, made the announcement that defined humanity's new future. "We came here to save our people, and we did. But we've become something more. We're no longer just Earth's children. We're humanity's ambassadors to the universe." The surviving fleet began the work of building a new civilization. Mining ships extracted resources from dead worlds. Factory ships began producing supplies and weapons. Colony ships carried people to planets that the Devourers had sterilized, beginning the long work of making them live again. Commander Yejun Nam, now Admiral of the Andromeda Defense Fleet, received the transmission that changed everything. It came from the edge of the galaxy, another species under attack by machine intelligence forces. "Human defenders," the message said. "We have heard of your victory over the Devourers. Our worlds are under siege by the machines. Can you help us?" Admiral Nam looked at his officers, veterans of the longest journey in human history, survivors of battles against impossible odds. "Prepare the fleet," he ordered. "Someone's calling for help." Dr. Minju Wu smiled as she watched the ships prepare for their next mission. "You know, Admiral, I think we've found our purpose out here." "What's that?" "When the universe calls for help, humanity answers. No matter the cost. No matter the distance." The new human civilization in Andromeda had found its calling. They were no longer refugees or colonists. They were the guardians that other species called when the darkness came for them. And in the distant Milky Way,